Long ago, a shepherd boy named David faced a scary giant named Goliath. Goliath was huge. David, as David, I may be small, but I am brave. I know God will help me. Goliath, as Goliath, you can't beat me. David, as David, God is with me. I will win. And with that, the stage was set for an epic showdown. Before David and Goliath, before Moses parted the Red Sea, there was Noah. Noah was a righteous man who listened to God when others did not. In a time when the world was filled with wickedness and corruption, Noah stood out as a beacon of faith and obedience. One day God spoke to Noah and gave him a monumental task. God said, "Build a big boat, Noah. This boat or ark will be your salvation. It will protect you, your family, and the animals from a great flood that I will send to cleanse the earth." Noah, being a man of great faith, did not question God's command. He immediately set to work, gathering the materials and following God's detailed instructions. The ark was to be made of gopher wood and covered inside and out with pitch to make it waterproof. It was to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, with 3 decks and a door on the side. As Noah and his family worked tirelessly to build the ark, they faced ridicule and disbelief from their neighbors. People laughed at Noah, calling him crazy for building such a large boat on dry land. But Noah remained steadfast in his faith, knowing that he was following God's will. When the ark was finally completed, God instructed Noah to bring into the ark 2 of every kind of animal, male and female, to keep them alive during the flood. Noah did as he was told, and soon the ark was filled with animals of all kinds, from the smallest insects to the largest beasts. Then the day came when the skies darkened and the rain began to fall. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and the waters rose, covering even the highest mountains. The flood waters lifted the ark high above the earth, and it floated safely on the surface of the deep waters. Throughout the storm, Noah and his family remained safe inside the ark. They trusted in God's promise and knew that he would protect them. The animals too were safe and sound, cared for by Noah and his family. The floodwaters eventually began to recede, and after many months, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. When the ground was dry, God spoke to Noah again, telling him to come out of the ark with his family and the animals. Noah built an altar to the Lord and offered sacrifices in gratitude for their deliverance. God was pleased with Noah's faithfulness and made a covenant with him, promising never to destroy the earth with a flood again. As a sign of this covenant, God placed a rainbow in the sky, a beautiful reminder of his promise. See, God helps those who believe in him, just like he helped Noah. Noah's story is a powerful testament to the importance of faith, obedience, and trust in God's plan. Jonah was a man who tried to run away from God. God said, "Go to Nineveh." But Jonah went the other way. Then a big fish swallowed Jonah. He stayed in the fish's belly for 3 days. Jonah prayed, "God, please help me." Finally, the fish spit Jonah out onto dry land. Jonah learned that you can't hide from God. God always knows best. Daniel was a good man who prayed to God every day. He was known throughout the land for his unwavering faith and dedication. No matter what happened, Daniel always found time to pray and give thanks to God. His faith was his strength, and it guided him in all his actions. Daniel's devotion was so strong that it inspired many people around him to also believe in the power of prayer and faith. Some bad men didn't like that Daniel prayed to God. They were jealous of his favor with the king and his unwavering faith. These men were always looking for ways to bring Daniel down. They plotted and schemed, trying to find a way to get rid of him. They knew that Daniel's faith was his greatest strength, so they decided to use it against him. They convinced the king to pass a law that no one could pray to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Anyone who disobeyed would be thrown into the den of lions. They tricked the king, and Daniel was thrown into a den of hungry lions, but God protected Daniel. Despite the new law, Daniel continued to pray to God just as he always had. He knew that his faith was more important than any earthly law. When the bad men saw Daniel praying, they immediately reported him to the king. The king was very sad because he liked Daniel and didn't want to harm him. But the law was the law, and the king had no choice but to order Daniel to be thrown into the den of lions. As Daniel was thrown into the den, he prayed to God for protection. The lions, who were very hungry, approached Daniel, but instead of attacking him, they sat calmly around him. God had sent an angel to shut the mouths of the lions, and they did not harm Daniel at all. The lions didn't hurt him at all. They sat peacefully around Daniel as if they were his friends. Daniel continued to pray and give thanks to God for keeping him safe. He knew that it was his faith that had saved him. The night passed and Daniel remained unharmed. The lions, who were known for their ferocity, did not touch him. It was a miracle, and it showed the power of faith and God's protection. The king was amazed and let Daniel go free. Early the next morning, the king rushed to the den to see if Daniel was still alive. He called out to Daniel, and to his amazement, Daniel answered. The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be lifted out of the den. He realized that Daniel's God was truly powerful and had protected him from the lions. The king then ordered that the bad men who had plotted against Daniel be thrown into the den of lions. This time, the lions did not remain calm. They attacked the men and their families, showing that it was indeed a miracle that Daniel had been saved. Daniel's faith in God kept him safe, even in the scariest place. Daniel's story spread throughout the land, and many people were inspired by his unwavering faith. They saw that true faith in God could protect them from any danger. Daniel continued to serve the king and pray to God every day. His faith remained strong, and he continued to inspire others with his devotion and trust in God's protection. The story of Daniel and the lion's den became a powerful testament to the strength of faith and the power of God's protection. It showed that no matter how scary or dangerous a situation might be, faith in God can keep us safe and give us the strength to overcome any challenge.
Moses led God's people out of Egypt. It was a monumental task, filled with challenges and uncertainties. The people had been enslaved for generations, and leaving behind the only life they knew was daunting. Yet, with faith and determination, they followed Moses, trusting in God's promise of a better future. But an army chased them. Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, had a change of heart. He couldn't bear to lose his workforce and sent his mighty army to bring them back. The sight of the chariots and soldiers approaching struck fear into the hearts of the people. They felt trapped and helpless, questioning if they had made the right decision to leave. They came to the Red Sea, and there was no way across. The vast expanse of water seemed like an insurmountable barrier. The people were cornered, with the sea in front of them and the Egyptian army closing in from behind. Desperation and panic began to set in. They cried out to Moses, wondering if they were doomed to perish in the wilderness.
Moses raised his staff, and God parted the sea. In that moment of crisis, Moses turned to God for guidance. With unwavering faith, he lifted his staff over the waters. Miraculously, the sea began to part, creating a pathway through the water. The walls of water stood tall on either side, revealing a dry seabed. It was a sight to behold, a testament to God's power and mercy. The water made two walls, and a dry path appeared. The people, initially hesitant, began to step onto the dry ground. With each step, their confidence grew. They could hardly believe their eyes. The path was clear, and they moved forward, leaving behind the threat of the Egyptian army. It was a journey of faith, each step a testament to their trust in God's deliverance. God's people walked right through the middle of the sea. The journey through the parted sea was surreal. The walls of water on either side were a constant reminder of the miracle they were experiencing. Families held hands, children clung to their parents, and the elderly were supported by the younger ones. It was a collective effort, a community moving forward together, united by their faith and hope. When they were safe, the water closed up and the army was gone. As the last of God's people stepped onto the opposite shore, the waters began to return to their place. The Egyptian army, in hot pursuit, was caught in the midst of the closing sea. The waters engulfed them, and they were no more. The people of God were safe, their enemies vanquished by the very waters that had provided their escape. God can do amazing things, like parting the sea to protect his people. This miraculous event was a powerful reminder of God's unwavering commitment to his people. It showed that no obstacle is too great, no enemy too powerful for God to overcome. The parting of the Red Sea became a symbol of hope and faith. The story passed down through generations, reminding all who hear it of the incredible things God can do to protect and deliver his people. Joseph had a special coat of many colors. His brothers were jealous and sold him as a slave. But God had a plan for Joseph. He became a leader in Egypt and saved his family from a terrible famine. Joseph forgave his brothers and showed them kindness. Even when bad things happen, God can make good come from them. One day a man was robbed and left hurt on the road. Two important men walked by, but they didn't help. Then a Samaritan came along. He stopped and helped the hurt man, even though they were from different places. The Samaritan showed kindness and compassion. Jesus taught us to be kind and help others, just like the Good Samaritan did. Long ago, in a little town called Bethlehem, a very special baby was born. His name was Jesus. An angel appeared to shepherds and said, "A Savior is born. He will bring peace and love to the world." People came from far and wide to see baby Jesus. He was God's greatest gift to the world, full of love and forgiveness.